Here we go. So, what we're going to talk about today is how to write our own equation. Okay, so the vocabulary word is called best fitting line, and we're actually not even going to go over it because I'm just more interested in you understanding how to write your own equation. Okay, so these equations that we're going to write are in function form. What does function form mean?
Where y equals something.
Y equals something. Okay, so here is the kind of formula that we're going to start with. Y equals mx plus b. We know that this is function form because y equals. Now the x is always going to be part of the equation. All right, and the m is going to tell us the slope, and that means the change between the vertical height and then the distance. And b right here is going to be the y-intercept. So when we find the y-intercept, what is x when we find the y-intercept?
0.
0. Okay. So this number right here is the y-intercept. Okay. So that's what b represents. So half of the problems from this lesson, it's going to say write an equation of the line with a slope of -2 and a y-intercept of -5. Okay, so we're going to start out with the equation y equals mx plus b. All we have to do is replace m with the slope. And what does it tell us the slope is? -2. And then it tells us that the y-intercept is -5. So b is -5. And that's the answer. Okay, now it's customary to write it like this. Y equals -2x, and instead of plus -5, just write -5. Okay, so the majority of the homework problem, not the majority, but half of the homework problems, or a third of the homework problems from this lesson are going to be just like this. Write an equation that has this slope, so you replace m with the slope, and write an equation that has, this is the y-intercept, so replace that with the y-intercept. Okay, so here's an example of what a homework problem would look like. Write an equation of a line with a slope of 4 and a y-intercept of -3. You're going to start out like this. Y equals mx plus b, and then you're going to rewrite y equals, the slope is 4, so you'll say 4x, and then instead of plus b, you'll put plus -3, or you can write it like this. Y equals 4x minus 3, and that's the answer. Now, could you graph this? Yes. What would you do to graph it?
You would
Intercepts. Okay. You wouldn't do intercepts because it's in function form. You would do the t chart, the input output, and so you could do 0, 1, and 2, and then you just replace x with 0, and then y ends up being -3. Replace x with 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. Replace x with 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. And you could graph it. It doesn't ask us to graph it, so you don't have to. So, alright, now, this next example, it says, write an equation of a line, and we're looking at the graph. Okay, so the easiest thing to find is b. And what did I say b was to the equation? The y-intercept. The y-intercept is where it crosses what? The y-axis. So can we see where this line crosses the y-axis?
Yeah.
It crosses where? 0, 2. Okay, so we know, and that's down here, that's step 2. We know that this line crosses at 0, comma, oh, I wrote it in the wrong place. It crosses the y-axis. Sorry. It crosses the y-axis at the point 0, comma 2. So to indicate that, all we would say is b equals 2. So we're halfway done with writing the equation. Now, in order to find the slope, and again, this is going back to previous lessons, it's called rise over run. Rise, or the change in y, over run, the change in x. So if we start here, we want to figure out how many times we have to go up, and then how many times we have to go over in order to find the slope. So how many times did we go up? 1, 2. And how many times did we go over? 1, 2, 3. Okay? So we know that the slope would be 2 over 3. Now there's another way to find it. The other way to find it, and this is a formula that we go over in the previous lesson. The way to find slope is you take the second y minus the first y over the second x minus the first x. Okay, so this is going to look a little unfamiliar right now to you guys. Okay, but this is something that we will do in the lessons prior to this. Okay, so if I look, this is the first coordinate and this is the second one. So if I look at the second y, what number is that? 4. Now if I look at the first y, what number is that? 2. Now if I look at the second x, what number is that? 3. And if I look at the first x, what number is that?
0.
Guess what 4 minus 2 is?
2.
And 3 minus 0?
3.
So there's 2 different ways to find the slope. So if you have the graph, the easiest way to find it is just count the rise, how many times you rise, 1, 2, how many times you run, 1, 2, 3, 2 over 3. If you don't have the graph and all you have are the ordered pairs, you do this. Okay? So and again, the more we go over it, the more familiar it will seem. Okay, so the next example, which is actually the last one that we'll do, there are 3 pages to these notes, but we're only going to do the first 2, okay? So I don't know if I made copies. I can't remember if I made copies of the last page or not. So if you get the last page and there's an example 4, we're not doing that one. We're just going through example 3. Okay, so example 3 will be the last one that we do. It says, and this is writing an equation of a line that is parallel or perpendicular. Okay, remember what a parallel line is. They're lines like this. Okay. Now, a parallel line has the same slope as its other parallel line. A perpendicular line is going to have opposite slope. So it says, write an equation of the line that is parallel to the line y equals 8x and passes through the point 0, 3. So we're going to do this first. So we're going back to the first example, and we know we're starting with y equals mx plus b. Now they tell us what b is. What is b?
0,
3. Which how would we write it? We would just write it as 3. So we know that this is going to equal, we've got to find what m is. We know it's going to equal m something, that's the slope, plus 3, because this line passes at the point 0, 3. Now how do we know what the slope is? The slope will always be the number in front of x. So they give us this. What number is in front of x? 8. Okay, so that's our slope, is 8, which is really the number 8 over 1, which we'll see in previous lessons. 8 over 1 is a slope. We would rise 8 points and we would run 1 point. Okay, so that is our slope. Now if the line is parallel, it has the same slope. Okay, so this line, so the slope of the given line is 8. And since these lines are parallel, guess what? Their slopes are going to match. So the slope of this line would also be 8. So the answer to this is just y equals 8x plus 3. Parallel lines are a little bit easier. Perpendicular lines are where you have to pay attention. A perpendicular line is what kind of line? Yes. They're the opposite, right? They intersect at a point that is 90 degrees. Okay, so it says 2, and you could write 2 over 1. 2 over 1 or 2x plus 5. And that would be the answer to that. So on these three examples, we're starting with this every time. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. And y equals mx plus b. The only two letters that we have to substitute for are m and b. M is going to be the slope, b is going to be the y-intercept. Okay, so if we look at this one, it says write an equation on the line that passes through the points 0, -3, and 4, 5. Do we know right off the bat which number b is going to be? It is going to be what?
-3.
-3. So I know it's going to be something x plus -3, or you could write -3. Now, how would I find m? How would I find the slope? I'm going to use this formula right here, which we talked about in a previous lesson. Times x1. So which number up here, we've got 4 numbers. Which number up here is the second y? 5. Okay, here's the first y, here's the second one. So the first y minus, what's the second y? -3. Sorry, I didn't squeeze that in. Okay, so it's 5 minus -3. Now, which number up here is the second x? 4. And which number is the first x? 0. Okay, so I've got 5 minus -3. What's 5 minus -3? Right, so it'd be 8 over, what's 4 minus 0? Can I simplify this? What's 8 over 4? 2. So guess what my slope is? 2. And that's the answer. Or you could rewrite it like this. Y equals 2x minus 3. Either one of these is the answer. Okay? So now I'm going to do number 3. Write an equation of the line that is parallel. What do we know about the slope of a parallel line? They're the same. Okay? So what are the 2 letters I have to replace? M and B. Do I know automatically what B is? Okay, 4. So I know now all I have to do is find M. How do I find M? Do I have 2 points on this one? No, I don't have 2 ordered pairs, but I do know this. The line is